My family completely ignored me for Thanksgiving, but everything changed when my sister's husband unexpectedly showed up at my office. Thanksgiving was always a special time for my family. Every year, we'd gather around my parents' big oak dining table, laughing, sharing stories, and indulging in way too much turkey and pumpkin pie. But this year was different. For reasons I still don't understand, my family didn't invite me. Not a single text, call, or even a hint that I was expected. I tried to shrug it off, convincing myself that maybe they assumed I had plans or that they simply forgot. But deep down, it hurt. I spent the morning alone in my small apartment, staring at my computer screen, trying to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting to memories of past Thanksgivings. The smell of roasted turkey, my mom's famous stuffing, my dad's jokes that always teetered on the edge of embarrassing, and the laughter. I felt invisible, like I didn't matter this year. Hours passed, and just as I was about to give up on the day entirely, the office door swung open. I looked up, startled, and there he was, my sister's husband. He had this worried, almost guilty expression on his face, and in his hand, he carried a small bag. "Hey," he said softly. "Can we talk?" I motioned for him to sit, unsure of what was happening. He cleared his throat and admitted that he had overheard my parents talking earlier and realized I wasn't invited. He said he couldn't stay silent, and he didn't want me to spend Thanksgiving alone. Without thinking, I invited him to stay for dinner with me. What started as a quiet, awkward afternoon slowly turned into one of the most memorable Thanksgivings I've ever had. We laughed, shared stories, and even made a turkey together in my tiny kitchen. For the first time in years, I realized that family isn't just about blood, it's about who shows up when it matters. By the end of the day, my phone started buzzing. My sister and parents were apologizing for the oversight, admitting they didn't realize how much I wanted to be part of the celebration. But honestly, it didn't matter. That Thanksgiving, I learned that kindness, unexpected gestures, and true connections could create the warmth and love that any holiday should bring. From that day forward, my sister's husband became my Thanksgiving hero, and I never forgot the lesson that sometimes, family isn't defined by who invites you, but by who actually cares enough to show up. After our unexpected mini Thanksgiving, I thought the day couldn't get any more unusual. But then my phone buzzed again. It was a message from my sister. "We need to talk. Can you come to the house?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Why should I? They had ignored me all day. But curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to go. When I arrived, the house smelled just like I remembered, warm and comforting. My parents looked guilty, and my sister's eyes were red as if she had been crying. Before I could say anything, my sister's husband, my unexpected Thanksgiving hero, stepped forward. "You don't have to do this alone," he whispered to me, giving me a small, reassuring smile. And then, the truth came out. Apparently, my parents had planned to surprise me with a big family gathering later in the evening. But in the chaos, my sister had accidentally told her husband that I wasn't invited, and he had immediately decided I shouldn't be left out. That was why he came to my office. It was awkward at first. My parents apologized repeatedly, and my sister hugged me so tightly I thought she might crush me. But instead of feeling hurt, I felt included. For the first time that day, I realized that even when people make mistakes, good intentions can shine through, and sometimes, it takes one brave person to bridge the gap. We sat down together that night, this time at the big oak table, and shared the meal we had all been missing. My sister's husband even suggested a toast to unexpected heroes, second chances, and the fact that family isn't always perfect, but it's always worth fighting for. And in that moment, I realized something important. Family isn't just who invites you to the table, it's who shows up when it really matters. And sometimes, the person who makes the biggest difference isn't the one related to you by blood, but the one who refuses to let you feel alone. That Thanksgiving ended up being the best one I've ever had, not because of the food, or the decorations, or even the stories, but because it reminded me of the power of kindness, courage, and connection. And I knew that, no matter what, next year I'd never take a single invitation, or a single person, for granted. After that Thanksgiving dinner, I thought the day had reached its peak. The room was warm, the food was delicious, and the awkwardness seemed to have melted away. But little did I know, the evening still had surprises in store. As we were clearing the table, my sister's husband nudged me with a conspiratorial grin. "Wait here," he said. Moments later, he returned carrying a small, wrapped box. "This came for you," he whispered, handing it over. I opened it cautiously. Inside was an old photo album, one I hadn't seen in years. Pictures of us as kids, playing in the yard, baking cookies with my mom, and laughing until our stomachs hurt. At the bottom of the album was a note in my sister's handwriting. "We didn't mean to leave you out. We were worried you'd feel unappreciated, but we see now that we were wrong. We love you. Always." I felt a lump in my throat. Tears welled up, but this time, they weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of gratitude. My family had made a mistake, yes, but in the end, they had gone out of their way to make amends. Then my dad cleared his throat. We wanted to tell you something," he said, hesitating. "We've been talking about starting a new tradition this year. Not just Thanksgiving, but making sure we do something special together every holiday. And we realized it shouldn't just be about us. It should be about you too." I blinked, stunned. I had spent the entire day feeling invisible, but here they were, finally acknowledging me, finally including me. But just as I was about to respond, my sister's husband leaned over and whispered, "One more thing." He handed me a small envelope. Inside was a ticket to a weekend getaway, a family retreat to a cabin in the mountains, where we'd spend time together, away from distractions. It was overwhelming. All the hurt, all the loneliness of the day, melted into something entirely new, hope. For the first time in years, I felt like I truly belonged, not just in my family, but in the life I was building with people who genuinely cared. As the night drew to a close, we all gathered around the fireplace. My sister hugged me again, my parents joined in, and even my sister's husband, my unexpected hero, stood by my side. And in that moment I realized something profound. Life doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes you feel left out. But what matters most is the courage to step up, the kindness to reach out, and the love that binds us together, even when things go wrong. That Thanksgiving became more than just a holiday. It became a turning point. A reminder that family isn't perfect, but it can be extraordinary when we open our hearts, forgive, and embrace the unexpected moments that life throws our way. And as I went to bed that night, I couldn't stop smiling. Because I knew something I hadn't realized before. Sometimes, the people who change your life the most aren't the ones you expect, they're the ones who show up when you need them the most. Just when I thought the day had settled into warmth and comfort, a sudden knock at the door startled everyone. My heart skipped a beat. Who could it be this late? When I opened the door, I found a woman standing there holding a small, mysterious envelope. She introduced herself as a friend of my sister's husband. "He asked me to deliver this to you," she said, handing me the envelope before disappearing into the night. Curious, I tore it open. Inside was a letter, written in neat, careful handwriting. "You were always the heart of the family, even when no one noticed. Some truths are hard to face, but tonight is the start of something new. Trust yourself, and never let anyone make you feel invisible again." There was no signature, just a small, embossed seal I didn't recognize. My sister looked puzzled, my parents confused, and my sister's husband gave me that knowing smile again. Then, as we sat back down by the fire, my phone buzzed. It was a video message from my niece, the youngest in the family. She had recorded herself saying, "Uncle/Aunt, my name, I'm glad you're here. Don't ever leave us out again." She had drawn little hearts around the words. Suddenly, the room felt even warmer. All the earlier tension, the sadness, and the feelings of rejection melted away completely. I realized that this wasn't just about one Thanksgiving. It was about family, love, and making sure we never take each other for granted. But the surprises didn't stop. My sister's husband quietly handed me a small key. "This," he said, "is to the cabin we're renting for the family getaway. But there's a twist. You get to plan the first day entirely yourself." My mind raced. For the first time, I wasn't just included, I had control, a chance to create memories that mattered to me as much as to everyone else. As we all gathered in the living room, sharing stories, laughing, and planning for the trip, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, truly seen. I realized that the hurt of being left out was temporary, but the lessons of compassion, courage, and family connection were permanent. And so, as the night came to an end, I made a silent promise to myself: no more feeling invisible, no more letting misunderstandings dictate my happiness. I would cherish every moment, every connection, every unexpected hero who walked into my life, because they reminded me that even the loneliest Thanksgiving could turn into the most unforgettable one. Looking back, I knew one thing for certain: that Thanksgiving wasn't just about food or tradition. It was about discovering who truly cared, who would step up when it mattered, and how love, forgiveness, and unexpected kindness could turn even the loneliest day into a story worth telling for years to come. And in that quiet moment, with the fire crackling and my family gathered around, I finally understood: sometimes, the most unforgettable holidays aren't the ones you expect, they're the ones you almost miss, until someone shows up and changes everything. After the long day of surprises, heartfelt conversations, and unexpected warmth, I thought I finally understood what Thanksgiving was all about. The fire crackled softly, casting a golden glow across the living room, and my family was gathered close together. I could hear the soft hum of the heater in the background, and the occasional creak of the old wooden floors. Everything seemed peaceful, almost too perfect to be real. But as I sat there, I realized that even the quietest moments often hide the most profound revelations. My sister, sensing my deep thoughts, nudged me gently. "You look like you're thinking about a million things," she whispered. I smiled faintly but didn't answer. How could I explain the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me? The hurt I had felt earlier that day, the loneliness, the sting of being left out, it had all been transformed into something entirely new: gratitude. Gratitude for my family, yes, but also for the unexpected kindness of my sister's husband, the small gestures that had reminded me I was seen and valued. Just as I was settling into the warmth of the evening, my sister's husband leaned over with a mischievous grin. "I think there's one more surprise for you," he said. I raised an eyebrow, skeptical. After everything that had already happened, what more could there possibly be? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a video call, from someone I hadn't seen in years, my childhood best friend. She had moved across the country, and we hadn't spoken in months, but she was holding a small, wrapped present and waving excitedly at the camera. "I heard about your Thanksgiving adventure," she said, laughing. "I couldn't let you spend it entirely alone. Open this when you're ready." I set the phone aside and untied the ribbon. Inside was a handmade journal, each page filled with sketches, memories, and little notes reminding me of the adventures we had shared as kids. The bottom of the last page read, "You are never truly alone. You are loved more than you know. Keep this with you, always." Tears welled up again, but this time they were tears of joy, a mixture of nostalgia, love, and relief. I looked around at my family, my parents, my sister, my niece, and yes, my sister's husband, and felt a warmth that I had never truly appreciated before. These were the people who, despite mistakes, despite misunderstandings, were willing to fight to make me feel included. But then the evening took another unexpected turn. There was a knock at the door, again. This time, I hesitated before opening it, unsure of what new surprise or complication awaited me. When I finally did, I found an older woman holding a small, wooden box. She introduced herself as a friend of my grandmother, someone who had been entrusted with a message many years ago. My grandmother had passed away when I was young, but her note was addressed to me, in my handwriting's familiar curves, as if she had known I would need it one day. Inside the box was a letter, and as I unfolded it, my hands trembled. The letter recounted stories from my grandmother's youth, family secrets, and even little-known traditions that she had hoped I would continue. It spoke of resilience, of forgiveness, and of the importance of always seeking connection, even when it feels impossible. My heart raced as I read every line, realizing that the threads of my family's love stretched across generations, weaving together every lonely moment, every forgotten Thanksgiving, and every act of kindness that had led me to this point. The room grew quiet. My parents watched me with wide eyes, unsure of what I would do next. My sister's husband placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "You've got this," he whispered. And in that moment, I understood something crucial. Family, love, and connection aren't about the perfect holiday meal or the absence of conflict. They are about showing up, taking risks, extending forgiveness, and embracing the unexpected twists that life throws at you. With a deep breath, I stood up, holding both the journal from my friend and the letter from my grandmother. "I get it now," I said softly. "I understand what it means to be part of a family, not just the one we're born into, but the one we create with our actions, our love, and our choices." My parents nodded slowly, their eyes glistening with emotion. My sister hugged me again, tighter this time, and my niece jumped onto my lap, giggling. Even my sister's husband smiled knowingly, as if he had orchestrated this entire day to remind me that I was never alone. And yet, as I sat back down by the fire, I realized there was still one final surprise I hadn't anticipated. My sister quietly handed me a sealed envelope. I opened it, and inside was a plane ticket, not just for me, but for the entire family, to travel together to a distant city for a new holiday adventure. Along with the ticket was a note. "Life is short. Don't wait for permission to make memories. Create them. Together." That night, as we packed away the remnants of our Thanksgiving feast and prepared to face a new chapter, I felt a sense of peace and purpose I had never known. The hurt of earlier in the day was gone, replaced with an understanding that life, family, and love are messy, unpredictable, and endlessly beautiful. And as I looked around the room at the faces of the people who truly cared, I knew this Thanksgiving wouldn't just be remembered. It would be the foundation for every holiday, every gathering, and every shared moment that came after. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable holidays aren't about tradition, they're about transformation, about the people who step into your life when you least expect it, and about discovering that even the loneliest, most overlooked days can become the most meaningful, memorable, and life-changing moments of all. As the night grew late and the fire dwindled to glowing embers, I thought the day's surprises had finally come to an end. My family had laughed, cried, and shared memories that had long been buried under years of misunderstanding and neglect. The sense of belonging I felt now was almost overwhelming, so much so that I could barely imagine what more could happen. But then, my sister's husband cleared his throat and said softly, "There's something else you should know." Everyone turned to look at him, curiosity and concern written on their faces. My heart skipped a beat. I had learned by now that he often knew exactly when to deliver the next twist. He handed me a small, old envelope, sealed with red wax and embossed with a symbol I didn't recognize. "This was in your grandmother's things," he explained. "She left it for you, but we only found it today. She wanted you to have it when the time was right." My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a letter, but this one wasn't just filled with memories or advice. It was a confession. My grandmother wrote about a secret sibling I had never known about. Someone who had been estranged from the family decades ago, but had always been part of our lineage, quietly observing from afar. The letter revealed that this relative had left messages and gifts for me at every Thanksgiving, every birthday, every major life event, but I had never known they were from her. I sat in stunned silence. My parents' faces paled. My sister gasped softly. My niece clutched my arm, sensing that something monumental was unfolding. This can't be real," I whispered. "It's real," my sister's husband confirmed, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "She left clues over the years, waiting for the right moment." And this moment, it's now. I opened the envelope further and found a small key and a map. The map led to a storage unit in a nearby town. According to the letter, the unit contained items my estranged relative had left behind for me: personal belongings, family heirlooms, letters, and even a diary. Everything I needed to understand my family's full history and the part of myself I had never known. For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel excitement, fear, or disbelief. The day that had begun with rejection had now transformed into something I could never have imagined, a mystery waiting to be unraveled, a family secret that could change everything I thought I knew about myself. And just when I thought the tension couldn't rise any higher, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from an unknown number. "If you want to truly understand, go tonight. Don't wait. The past is waiting for you." I looked up, my eyes meeting my sister's husband's. He nodded slightly, as if to say, "You're ready." My parents were silent, unsure, but supportive. My sister squeezed my hand and whispered, "Go. We'll be here when you get back." I grabbed the key and the map, feeling a mix of fear and anticipation. This was no longer just about Thanksgiving, inclusion, or family reconciliation. It was about uncovering truths, facing history, and discovering parts of myself I had never known existed. As I drove to the location, the night air crisp and filled with anticipation, I couldn't help but reflect on everything that had happened. One day of being left out had turned into a journey spanning generations, revealing the lengths my family had gone to protect secrets, and the courage of one person, my sister's husband, to ensure I wasn't forgotten. When I arrived at the storage unit, my hands were shaking. I inserted the key, turned it slowly, and pushed the door open. Inside was a treasure trove of family history, photographs, journals, letters, even a collection of objects carefully labeled with dates and names. But the most astonishing discovery was a small box in the center, sealed and marked with my initials. Inside that box was a letter addressed specifically to me, written by my long-lost relative. It spoke of regret, love, and hope. It explained that they had been watching over me in secret, guiding events to ensure I would always have someone watching, even when I felt invisible. And finally, it contained a heartfelt invitation to meet, to reconnect, and to become a part of the family in a way I had never imagined. Tears streamed down my face as I read the letter. I felt a surge of emotions: shock, relief, curiosity, and an overwhelming sense of belonging. Everything I had felt alone about, everything I had misunderstood, suddenly had context. And I knew that this Thanksgiving, this one chaotic, unexpected, transformative day, was not the end. It was just the beginning. Driving home, the dawn breaking on the horizon, I realized something powerful. Life doesn't hand you closure or understanding easily. It forces you to seek it, to take risks, to confront mysteries, and to embrace surprises. And sometimes, it takes being excluded, ignored, or overlooked to truly understand the people who matter, the love that surrounds you, and the unexpected heroes who step into your life when you need them the most. That Thanksgiving had started as a day of rejection, but it ended as a day of revelation, discovery, and transformation. And I knew, without a shadow of doubt, that my life, and my family, would never be the same again. Just as I was about to close the storage unit and head back, a shadow fell across the doorway. I froze, my heart pounding. "Who's there?" I called out. A tall figure stepped into the dim light. I couldn't recognize them at first, but as they came closer, my breath caught. It was my cousin, someone I hadn't seen in over a decade. The cousin I thought had abandoned the family years ago, the one who had caused so much tension in our household, the one everyone whispered about but never spoke to me about directly. "I see you found the box," they said quietly, almost cautiously. Their voice was softer than I remembered, almost vulnerable. "I never wanted you to feel excluded, but I had my reasons for staying away." Shock and confusion collided in my mind. Reasons? What reasons could possibly justify years of silence, of absence, of pretending I didn't exist? They swallowed hard, avoiding my gaze. "It wasn't about you. It was about protecting you. Protecting the family? There were things going on, things you don't know about yet. And now, you're old enough to understand. My hands trembled as I clutched the letters and journals. Explain. Right now. I need to know the truth. Slowly, they began to unravel the story. Decades ago, a secret family conflict had erupted, one that had involved hidden debts, legal battles, and betrayals that no one had ever spoken about. My cousin had taken the fall, leaving everyone, including me, believing they had abandoned us. But in reality, they had been watching, intervening quietly, guiding certain events, and making sure I was never completely alone, even when I felt invisible. Every gift, every hidden note, every mysterious message, the ones I had received over the years, were from them. They had orchestrated my life from the shadows, ensuring that when the time was right, I would discover the truth for myself. I sank to my knees, the weight of revelations crushing me. Anger, relief, gratitude, and heartbreak all swirled together, creating a storm inside me. You mean, everything I've felt, everything I thought was random, was part of your plan? Yes, they admitted. I wanted you to grow, to learn, to feel what it's like to be invisible and then find connection on your own. To understand that family isn't just about blood, it's about presence, about care, about actions, even when hidden.